As business owners, entrepreneurs, family men, it's difficult for us to find the time to put together projects like these. Even though it's something we really want to do, unfortunately, taking care of the things we have to take care of comes first. However, because of viewer support for people like you, we're able to continue doing this. Please consider joining our Patreon and supporting the Burn and Return podcast. You're listening to Burn and Return, a weekly 1-hour podcast covering news from the agricultural and turfgrass industries.
With the DJ Scratch, you know what that means. It means it is time for another episode of Burn and Return. How the hell is everyone doing? My name is Matt. Sometimes I go by the Grass Factor. Martin, right here coming at you. What's that?
Did you almost hold yourself up from saying hell? Can we not even say hell?
No, not at all. I actually
double hockey sticks.
And I was trying to catch it so I didn't just let it fly into the microphone. I mean, it took me a second.
We've put worse things into these microphones.
Without a doubt,
for sure.
I hold my breath intentionally while I speak into this because I'm afraid what might come off this mic sock here and embed into my brain and might end up with brain worms by the end of it, or applesauce brains. You never know. I don't know.
Is that the word of the week? Is brain worms? Is that it?
Yeah.
Are we there yet?
Right? We are roadkill and brain worms, baby. Outside of that, hope everyone's doing well. Boy, we had a hell of a week, I guess. I don't know. But actually I had a pretty calm week. How did y'all go? How did your week turn out? Everything turn out okay?
I would say so, Matt.
Did anybody eat a bear this weekend?
What is that?
No.
Did anybody eat a bear?
No.
I mean, in the pre-show, Jay Pink had said that he advertised to our patrons that he didn't know what our plan was. And so I offered up at least something to get us started. I said that we would all draw pictures of our genitals with our non-dominant hand and then hold them up and share them for the group to compare and contrast. So, we'll do that later. And for all of you audio-only listeners, we're sorry.
Yeah, look, I'm going to be honest. I went ahead and I got started on this, and I was just.
Did you had 11 by 17 paper there? How fortunate!
I did not need that, but it turned out something like this. I don't even know if you're not watching this on video. I don't even know. I don't want to tell them what I just held up right now. I'm just kidding. I held up a rosary. It's a joke. It's a running joke.
All right. This is really just 2 hours of confessional every week when we get on here. That's all it is. There's no prayers or recommendations offered at the end. It's just more like, all right, you guys got to go your separate ways. Get the hell away from each other for a little while. Oh. With that,
however, I can probably say that Matt is probably the most pious among us. Probably. Yeah. Because let's see. We have the librarian. Yeah, we have the librarian, and then you have me, and let's see. If you know, you know.
I'm I don't know if I'm pious. I'm just in recovery. I've been in recovery for quite a while now, so it gets easier the longer it works if you work it. For all my friends of Bill out there, just change your people, places, and things. Keep coming back. Do your 90 and 90. I'm trying to think of all the AA phrases that I've heard over the years. There's a bunch of them. I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. Let's check out this week's headlines. Digging my hole just deeper and deeper. Just keep feeding Matt rope, and boy, it's starting to look more and more like a noose. He's about to. Right. I was gonna say, yeah. I don't think I can make that joke on air. It is just the news, and boy, oh boy, we got some fun ones to kind of talk about here. We're gonna kick this off with a quick 60-second video. We've been talking about ag economics a little bit because it's weird, and I honestly don't think it's going to have too much downward impact on what we do. In fact, I think what we do may offer a little reprieve to it, especially for some of the input suppliers. Um, but I do think it's important to keep our finger on and our pulse on, because ag is our big older brother, whether we want him to be or not, or big daddy, however you want to choose to phrase it, and humble yourself. Regardless, they're in an issue, and I don't know how this is going to directly translate. In my opinion, I don't think it's going to have negative consequences, but I do think it's important to pay attention to. So, JP, let's check out this little 60-second short here from Farm Journal.
New warning signs of trouble in the ag economy came again this week. The Kansas City Federal Reserve releasing their latest ag credit survey showing early signs of financial pressure, with the most stress showing up in states that rely on more crops than cattle. The eroding outlook also showing up in the August Ag Economist's monthly monitor just released this week.
When you look at what we said for both relative to last month or last year, some of the most pessimistic readings we've had since we've been surveying here on 2024.
The latest monthly monitor asked the more than 70 economists surveyed if agriculture is on the brink of a recession. Nearly 60% said yes.
Maybe was surprising to me when we looked at, are we already in a recession? More than 50% said yes, we're already in a recession. That's a big change from where we were just 16, 24 months ago. And a lot of folks are worried about where we sit today.
Yeah.
Latest ag credit.
All right. So all that to say, right, is and I took a look at a couple of ag economic surveys out there, and the overall number one and number two concerns as of right now are the overwhelming majority of concern, and this is like 70% of the respondents, was the price of commodities. Number two was the price of inputs. And yes, we have seen some softening on nitrogen, however, and on some forms of potassium. However, phosphorus still remains high. And then on the crop protection side, so this is going to be your sides, right? Your pesticides. There's not a significant amount of softening that's occurred there. A lot of that has to do with the fact that and I don't want to make this too political, but you got to think there's things that directly impact crop protection or pesticides. Things that affect pesticides costs are going to range everything from the cost of plastics and everything that goes into manufacturing plastics, and that would include environmental regulations related to plastic manufacturing. We've got the PFAS thing that's kind of lingering in the background. We have organic solvents that go into preparing these materials, and a lot of those are non-renewable, right? They're going to be petroleum derived. And so there's many more market dynamics at play when it comes to the crop protection side. So and ultimately, aside from fertilizer, that's one of your biggest input costs as well too. So that is where the big threat on the input side is coming from, and that's why people are worried about it. The idea of shortages like we had with glyphosate several years ago, that's kind of waned, right? And it's down. Is it a concern? Yeah, but we're talking like 10% of respondents are concerned about it. When we are talking about a 60-70% really concerned about is input costs and the cost of commodity costs of grain. Like we talked about before, it's just simply not possible to be profitable right now. And Eric said, quick expand the budget for the Department of Ag. And that's what I'm alluding to, is that that will be the answer, right? It's going to be subsidized out. And I recommend everyone keep an eye on this and just pay attention to what happens in your state. There's probably going to be some kind of federal assistance that goes along with this. And it'll be probably dictated and called for by individual states. So I just ask you to pay attention to it, look at what gets bolted on to it, and see if there are any impacts in your local your local economics as related to your lawn care business, and let us know how you see that how that influences you. Because again, I could say, you look back through history and say, hey, every time we see this happens, this is what happens on the backside. What we learned through COVID is that's not at all actually how it works out, right? So yeah, most of the time history does repeat itself, but in this post-COVID era, it doesn't repeat itself in ways that we would consider necessarily normal, right? There's a bit more nuance now than I would say than we've seen through the pre-COVID years into transitioning into the post-COVID years. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way. Just real quick, gentlemen, either of y'all, I know all this is kind of unfolding now, and it'll be more than likely months, if not even a full calendar year away before the trickle-down effects of it reach us. Are y'all seeing anything out of the ordinary right now? Are you getting any kind of notifications on force majeurs or price, increases just going ape shit, or on the vice versa, huge price cuts? Or does everything still, seem to be kind of like hunky dory? Everybody's got smiles on their face, no panic, no nothing out of the ordinary.
Well, I think the biggest thing, we'll probably see more news stories ratcheting up about it in the next, I don't know, after Labor Day probably, is the status of the Farm Bill, which gets passed every 5 years and has been up for renewal, and it's been hung up with a lot of bullshit related to safety net changes, which are not necessarily about agriculture, but have a lot more to do with food security and things like that, right? So there's a whole bunch of people, as evidenced by that short that you had linked there, Matt, that are waiting to see how the government can respond. And listen, there's nobody else that's going to help in this situation, right? It is farmers against whoever their creditors are and the weather, and that's pretty much the triangle that they live every year. And so, to see what happens on the back end of that, do we get, a bunch of Chinese private equity money in here buying up all the farms, Ray? Is that what's going to happen when everybody goes under?
Probably. And on top of that, depending on who the next administration is, you may well be faced with an administration that is not very farm, business, or industry friendly. That's because unfortunately, guys, everything that I predicted about this past presidency related to our industry came through and then some. I told you so. And I'll leave it at that.
Again, I just ask anybody that notices anything out of the ordinary as all this comes to fruition, let us know. And we'll get into this when we get into the burns too. There's going to be some new EPA guidance that's coming out, and so we'll talk about that as we move on. The next one here, we got another little clip, and this is of course this comes out of Wisconsin. I mean, would it honestly come out of anywhere else? Man furious. La Supernova was furious after witnessing destructive land management practice alongside the road. How is this not illegal? In a video posted on TikTok by Samuel Thayer, Well-Fed Wild, shows viewers what appears to be miles and miles of rural roadside vegetation sprayed with herbicide instead of preserving and protecting native plant species. It seems the state of Wisconsin took a harmful shortcut. The TikToker says herbicide was sprayed instead of the roadside brush being managed by mowing. This kind of herbicide use is harmful to native plant species that provide food and habitat to native wildlife and can have catastrophic effects of wildlife as it decreases biodiversity, grassy monoculture, Sam notes. JP, can we watch this video right here too? And this is it. We have no idea what was fucking sprayed. What was sprayed. So let's check this video and see what kind of ingenious insight we get from old Sam here.
In spectacular fashion, it went to a random TikTok video. Hold on.
Oh, no problem. Again, it says, while it's unclear exactly who sprayed, the Department of Transportation says that it manages more than 150,000 acres. Samuel also specifies why spraying herbicides is so harmful, especially the fact that the rural roadsides shown are a state wildlife area and are at the edge of wetlands. It means the herbicides are likely leaching into those wetland habitats. Samuel's not the first to bring this up. Some states, including Maine, North Carolina, and Oregon, have created no-spray agreements that residents can establish the utility companies to reduce the use of harmful chemicals. Agreements. Roadside vegetation with herbicides and pesticides have been common practice by DOTs across North America.
Herbicides and pesticides? Really?
Yes. Yeah. We're doing this again.
And pesticides?
We're doing this again. Let me see who wrote this article real quick. This is by Talia Resnick. If I had to guess, she is an expert in something that would make her qualified to write this article.
He might have taken it down.
Good.
Quite possibly.
He's got other things.
What was it
here.
called?
I saw one that was like Herbicide Apocalypse.
Herbicide Apocalypse. Well, you know what, guys? You know all these people are yammering about herbicides? I know of a very real threat to animals. You know those batwing mowers that they typically use on roadsides, Matt?
Uh-huh.
Mice blenders.
What happens when that what happens when that chunk of steel goes through a poor animal's head?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
At 3,000 RPM. What happens, Matt?
Back behind when you've done that and you're looking at all the mouse guts?
Worse than Christy Gnome. I mean, ugh.
Nancy Kerrigan's knee cartilage. Something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so...
Here we go.
And you know what?
Along the side of a road, public land, Wisconsin DNR land, they're spraying hazelnut bushes, red maple, red oak, they're spraying serviceberry, they're spraying all native plants, there's no invasive plants in here, and they are spraying directly into the wetland. You can see the sedges here. There's no power line right of way that they're protecting. The only reason they're spraying here is because they decided that they think that it is cheaper than mowing. Just to show you where we are, we're on Wisconsin DNR land in Chippewa County. We are in a state wildlife area. The long-term goal with herbicide is to take our brushy roadside areas and turn them into a monoculture of grasses. Low diversity, low value for wildlife. When you add up this management plan over millions of miles of rural roadside all across North America, this becomes a reduction of wildlife habitat of literally tens of thousands of square.
Oh, and Matt, I just remembered something. The last place that I would want wildlife habitat is next to a road. And do you know why I don't want wildlife habitat next to a road?
So public safety? Kill people. Yeah.
Oh, because I remember when Jay Pink and I were hauling from Louisville back to Knoxville the other year, and I had to kind of say a little prayer because guess what I saw on the road? A deer that got hit.
Oh shit!
Okay,
you see that everywhere.
Yeah.
I saw
yeah, but then we have these brosifs that are yammering about we need to create wildlife habitats right next to a public transport right of way where cars are whizzing by at 50 miles per hour.
I'm gonna tell you what's ruining the
Mm-hmm.
habitat. Okay, is the stop signs are ruining the animal habitat. The other thing is those flashing school zone signs with the crosswalk thing also ruining the animal habitat, right? So when little Tristan turns into a meat crayon on a Tuesday morning, gosh darn it, the biodiversity is great. But hey, sorry, mom and dad, we couldn't have that in our whatever. That's just
Sorry about Timmy that was 16 years old and panicked when a deer ran out from behind the native tree that it was rutting against and took out your 16-year-old. But listen, the deer here contain way more value than you do. By the way, the author of this article here, Talia Resnick, is a recent graduate of the Columbia Climate School. She has a master's in the Climate and Society program. She works as part of a environmental and sustainability program coordinator at a law firm, also writes on the side. She is really grateful and excited to begin working in the ESG sector. She's
blossoming anti-Semite.
Hopes to pick up some important skills and gain knowledge on the interconnectedness of the private and public sectors.
Oh, lovely. Oh, lovely. I mean,
that is a bunch of gobbledygook. Let's be honest.
Listen,
that is just.
I just want to round this out by my quick Google search of trying to find that video from before. I came upon what I will say is both the best and worst named pesticide and herbicide I've ever seen. Boys, if you need to get it right now, get you some aerosol 2,4-D and bromacil in a can of Apocalypse. I can't wait to see what YouTuber has that on his buy my shit list.
Oh, by the way,
there was somebody
no, Ryan, you know what the fortunate thing is? What? I know these products, and these products are only sold to maintenance and repair personnel dealing with industrial plants. That's the only place that this will ever be sold. Because
time's up, it's over.
This kind of product is only used for people maintaining.
Oklahoma.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but then this stuff right here, this kind of stuff is only sold to people that are involved in the maintenance of industrial plants.
Now,
otherwise,
I agree.
I hear the next one they put glyphosate in is going to be called nuclear fission. That's what I understand.
Oppenheimer Part 2. The fact that somebody sat around a table and was like, I don't know, we could call it remedy. I don't know, we could call it weed out. We could call it no. And then there's Jerry in the back.
Apocalypse.
Like,
we're gonna call it Apocalypse.
Let's call this it. Let's call this Apocalypse.
As he rips a Winston down in 2 fucking puffs. I'm sorry,
and that's actually the first time he's ever talked in his 32 years of employment there. And everybody was like, "Yep, that's what we're gonna call it." And
definitely has a red swing line stapler.
Yeah, everybody go home.
Everyone go home now. I have a serious question for is how can I take the aerosol and put it in smaller containers and then sell it on lawn care Facebook groups? Is that possible?
Whoa!
Can I do that?
No.
I sure hope so. All right, let's go on to the next one.
No.
Why me?
It was purely a joke.
Notion froze. Let me reopen it here. Why does this happen to me? Okay, now we go. Okay, Bayer wins victory in U.S. legal battle against Roundup cancer claims. So in its fight to limit liability from claims that Roundup weed killer causes cancer, a U.S. appeals court on Thursday said the federal law shields the German company from a lawsuit by a Pennsylvania landscaper. The Third Circuit Court of Appeals in Philadelphia rejected plaintiffs David Schaffner's claim that Bayer's Monsanto unit violated state law by failing to put a counter warning on the label for Roundup. Schaffner was diagnosed in 2006 with a kind of cancer called non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, a common claim for Roundup plaintiffs. He and his wife, Teresa, sued Bayer in 2019 in part over his illness affected their relationship. Michael Chagres wrote for a unanimous 3-judge panel that the federal and FIFRA requires nationwide uniformity in pesticide labels and prevented Pennsylvania from adding a cancer warning. Bayer said the decision conflicts with rulings from federal appeals court in San Francisco and Atlanta in similar cases that may increase the prospect that the U.S. Supreme Court could step in and resolve the split and potentially reduce Bayer's liabilities. Bayer shares, which have been weighed down for Chip Becker, a lawyer for the Schaffner, said he was disappointed with the decision and that the federal law should not preempt his client's failure to warn claim. He said that Schaffner's are reviewing their legal options. Bayer said it was pleased with the decision and the Supreme Court should settle this important issue of law. It has maintained that Roundup and its active ingredient glyphosate are safe, and it continues to stand fully behind that. Here's the thing is, right, like no one can say definitively right now that it causes cancer. And I will gladly shift all opinions that I personally hold on glyphosate if I'm ever presented with evidence of the contrary. The closest thing that I have seen to any kind of potential long-term impacts of glyphosate is we're talking about the gut microbiota. And but what the downstream effects of that are, no one can definitively say right now. All of it is corollary. There is no causation, and even then, we're talking about an extremely small amount of limited data that's out there about it. And then as you get deeper into it, it starts to get really weird because you're teetering on what Dr. Stephanie Schneff was talking about, and that was just absolutely batshit crazy. So anyway, now we've got this is not the first victory by Bayer by any stretch of means of the imagination, and this is going to continue to play out over a long period of time. I will say that where there was an initial rush that people couldn't carry it due to insurance purposes or whatever, you have seen some softening in that, or at least the smoke has settled where it's settled, and where you can get it, where you can't get it anymore, right? That being said, it's still used in mass, and and I'll go ahead and we'll make this a little controversial. I just honestly don't give a shit. You're going to hear people like RFK come out and talk about how the poisons that we use on food has led to the situation we're in, right? With the amount of chronic health we face in this country, and so on and so forth. That's one of the things I heard him talk about. And I challenge everyone that genuinely believes that is the case. What I would like you to do is look at the choices you make day in and day out as related to physical activity, what you choose to eat, the things you do on weekends, right? So, for example, one of the things that I hyper obsess over right now is what the impacts are when I drink alcohol. And I track it. Unbelievable. I even track supplements that I take to try to mitigate the effects of alcohol, to the point now where like, for example, last night I had 2 drinks over a period of 3 hours while I was undergoing physical activity, sweating my absolute ass off. 2 drinks, 3 hours, came back, drank an electrolyte mix, took all sorts of vitamin cocktails, and things that are actually scientifically proven to help purge alcohol via CO2 from the body, and could still see the impacts of a resting heart rate that was up over 10 beats per minute, an 18% lower heart rate variability score, and over an hour and a half less time period spent in REM and deep sleep states. And that is from 2 drinks over a period of 3 hours. And that was also within 4 hours of that was 4 hours before I actually went to sleep. So all the alcohol had technically purged from my system, but my body still had not physically recovered. In fact, if you looked at my sleep graph, you would see it wasn't until about it wasn't until about like 6 o'clock in the morning that I had made a full recovery from consuming alcohol the night before. 2 drinks that I begin to enter my normal sleep state. So when we start talking about what we're doing to ourselves, right? It's easy to look for a boogeyman, and it's really, really difficult to look in the mirror and say, maybe I'm not making the best choices I could. And I understand there's a balance there. And at some point you have to say, you know what, fuck, I want to have more fun than I want to obsess over the most minute details. And I assume a level of risk that comes across with it. That is all a decision that we get to freely make, right? So one of the beautiful things about this country we live in. However, when we make that decision to then turn around and regret it to the point that we say, you know what actually I think this is, I don't want to look in the mirror anymore. I want to point to the way that we are cropping our food systems and say that is actually what it is, because I have done everything in my power to do right. And look, there's no one that can say that. There is no one that can say that. And pretend like we just now have a chronic disease problem. Again, my mom's side of the family, there's a lot of brothers, and guess how all of them died? Suicide or Alzheimer's. Do you think that was from the pesticides they were using? Or do you think there was a lot of choices? Because my granddad drank a monumental amount of alcohol until the day he died. Monumental amount of alcohol. In fact, what do you think led to a lot of the Alzheimer's that they all ended up getting? I'm sure part of it is a genetic component. The other part of it is the fact that they all drank like that, right? And God love them. One of the most gentle, kind people I had ever met in my entire life, and a phenomenal rice farmer. Point being is that we are not as kind to ourselves as we think we are. We are not active like we used to be. For example, if you thought about what life was like in the 1920s and the post-Great Depression period, there was no taking a car ride to work. There was no sitting behind a computer screen for 8 hours digesting spreadsheets. There was no sitting indoors in the air conditioner 14 out of our 16 waking hours, right? Those types of shifts that have occurred over the last 100 years have not given us a lot of time for the type of physical evolution that occurs from those lifestyle changes. Evolutionary changes in humans occurs over tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years, right? Look at when we started showing up as Homo sapiens, right? And even the gentle, subtle changes that have occurred over that relatively, but quite a fucking long period of time. Okay. So to pretend like the accelerated path that we have been on in the way that we live is not the overwhelming contributing factor here. And I don't want to be reductionist and say that it's not possible. I'll say for sure that there is a lot of possibility here. However, I think there's a lack of, and I think this is culturally happening, and this is my personal opinion. I think culturally, we are shying away from individualism, and we are looking for an answer to relieve our own decision making and ability to say, you know what, maybe I didn't do exactly the things I was supposed to do. No one wants to take responsibility, and I think it's because of the death of individualism. So anyway, that's my own personal opinion. I
got another one, Matt.
Go, shoot for it.
I got another one, Matt, because you. No, I'll tell you what, Matt. Likewise, this is all giving me the damn heebie-jeebies because guess what killed my family, Matt? Guess what killed them? They listened to exactly what the government and the doctors told them to do. You know that? They obeyed it exactly, and it damn killed them. So to have somebody like Robert F. Kennedy stand up there and say, I know what's best for everybody, I have two words for them, but I won't say them on air. Because that really gets me going. And likewise, for my own health, I did what the doctors told me to do. What did it do for me, Matt? You tell me, what did it do for me? Doing what the doctors told me to do.
It required you to undergo on a pretty significant N=1 experiment.
Exactly. And so to say that it is, because of glyphosate, that is why we have a problem. Well, you know what my counterpoint to that is? Maybe it is glyphosate, Matt, because glyphosate enables sugar and vegetable oil filled foods to be cheap. That is what glyphosate actually does. Because without glyphosate, I would imagine that damn bag of Cheetos would probably cost about $20 instead of $5. I mean, soda or energy drinks, they won't be cheap either because the high fructose corn syrup in those products would be priced similar to gold. So I think we're looking at the wrong damn thing. No, it ain't glyphosate. Because here's one more thing observationally, Matt. Guess how many people eat whole, recognizable foods during the day? How many? And when I say whole, recognizable foods, I'm talking about, in my case, eat the stuff that my great-great-grandparents used to eat. Not my grandparents. How many do that? And do it consistently and regularly? Because you see,
if you look at our industry, right, and it is the amount of time, especially lawn care guys, spend on the road, right? How difficult it is to allocate the time in your day to not live on gas station food.
Mm-hmm.
Because not only do you put in 14, 15, 16 hours a day, especially during the busy season, then on top of that, you get back and you have to do all your planning for the next day. You have to do all your accounting. You have to do all your point of contacts. And then by that time, it could be 1:00 in the morning. You got your first appointment at 7:15. When are you gonna stay up till 3 preparing what you got going the next day? Or you're gonna try and which one is it gonna be? Do you sleep 3 hours or do you sleep 5? And it's you're between a rock and a hard place, and I do not want to take away from that. If there's anything I understand is that is a shitty, shitty, shitty position to be in, and so I don't want to make this sound like I'm talking to lawn care guys who just say you're a bunch of fucking idiots. I'm not going there at all. My point being is that I get it. It is tough, but if it becomes easy for you to I don't want anyone to get into a position where I get it. It's easy to not want to accept individual responsibility, but I challenge you to anyway, as difficult as it may be, because if you let that seed remain somewhere in your brain at some point, it might be able to give you an opportunity to get out of the cycle. And it's
I got another one for
easier
you.
said than done.
I got another one for you because I've had horrifying stories about the health of the people that are replaced. Like I told you the one about how one of my customers told me his former lawn guy was stricken by mysterious muscle wasting that basically required him to get out of the business. That was one. The other horrifying one was I had a customer tell me his former lawn guy died due to complications of diabetes. Because I got to ask or challenge the lawn people out there, how many of you all are living on sugar-filled drinks during the day? How many of you guys are doing that? Right. Because you see, even when I'm on the road and working, I mean, I have very nice people, and these nice people are asking me, "Hey, Ray, you're working hard. Would you like a soda or an energy drink or a sports drink?" And do you know what I always say to that, Matt and Ryan?
Hopefully you at least smile whenever you answer.
I do.
Okay,
I say,
good.
thank you, but no thank you, because majority of what I consume during the day, as far as liquids go, is highly filtered reverse osmosis water. There's no sugar in it.
Anyway, yeah, we'll move on from this. Just keep your eyes open and your ears open, and continue to read about it. And anyway, I don't know. We went off on a tangent there. However, let's check out. Oh boy, I am just now looking at this. Let's check out this week's Joe Knows Turf. Oh God.
Joe Knows Turf.
Oh my God.
Hi, I'm Joe. I'm gonna give you a bunch of accurate turf facts today because Joe knows turf.
Well, gentlemen, sometimes our content comes from video, and other times it comes from the nether regions of the internet. And I'm talking about the Facebook lawn care groups, real deep in the perineum, in those little cracks and crevices where the sweat hides, and maybe the fermented cheese ferments. Who knows? But in any event, it seems like the deeper that you go in specificity in some of these lawn care groups, the worse information that you'll get. The big ones have kind of the same questions over and over again, but the state level ones, and I've noticed this with the Ohio one too, is that there's some good, well-meaning people on there that have legitimate questions, and then there are some, how do I want to say this, guys, bad actors, right? That just want to fill people's heads with, well, whatever. We're going to see about that. So Without further ado, I want to bring up JP. We're just going to go right in order of the screenshots that were sent to us, and we'll just kind of look at this of what's going on in the Kansas lawn care Facebook group. J-Pink, you got it? All right. I'll go ahead and read this. This is from a account entitled Carbon Connections. And I don't think this has anything to do with like hookups, meetups, stuff like that, but you never know. It says we get all kinds of questions / theories about mechanical aeration machines. Here's what we know. The aeration machines sure do put holes in the surface about a 2-inch in depth, and it's usually done in the fall. But what happens when the roots grow past 2 inches? You'd be awful surprised to know that most turf doesn't make it down past the 2-inch depth where the aerators go. So now your compaction is 2 inches deep. What do you do to break up the compaction that is deeper than the machine? And with the winter months ahead, what fills those holes? Exposing the grass roots, protecting the soil structure. I'm not sure if that's a complete sentence. On the other hand, liquid aeration is effective without the need to bore holes in the lawn. With this method, an organic mix of our products is applied to the grass. It gets to work, breaking down the thatch layer and allowing the grass roots to breathe. Liquid aerators have proven to be superior to core aeration. We enhance oxygen with our aerobic soil bacteria containing mycorrhizae. It's an exclamation point. I didn't say it that way unless it was punctuated that way. Ask how our products can soften up the soil, allowing oxygen and other nutrients to be absorbed into the root zone. Just like Mother Nature, again, how they wrote it, just me reading it, intended the soil to work. We help Mother Nature by applying our products, then move out of her way. Book your lawn care with us now. Guys, if that's not a call to action that I want to be a part of, I don't know what is. And sarcasm. Okay. So let's just start here for a second. There's a lot of claims in there. I mean, I don't know if Dr. Shaddix would have made it 3/4 of the way through this and just probably shut his camera off to go and, into the rage room for a minute, come back. Shout out to Dr. Shaddix. Hope you're doing well, sir. But
hey, Travis.
The one that I have to add this in. The thing that incensed J Pink most about all this, besides some of the claims in here, the one in particular that liquid aeration is proven to be better than mechanical aeration. J Pink, his biggest gripe is that the gentleman is still using Yahoo as his email service. So, sorry. Couldn't remember my password to Hotmail. Just the way it worked out. I apologize, J-Ping. So anyway, let's go ahead and check another screenshot here real quick. Okay. I don't know what the comment was back to him, but he says, you were so wrong, but thanks for asking. Just using my YouTube link. If you want to learn something, Dr. Lang Ingham, the soil food web, prove us wrong in the real world. Explain why we can probe 2 feet or more and find grass roots that deep. I think you'd be able to do that in a lot of places there, friend. Not just where you treat. So I don't know where this is going. Let's see where it comes here. All right. So Jason Rose, he's a level 2 contributor. I don't know what that means, but it sounds very authoritative. He says, total crap. It's been proven over and over that liquid aeration is snake oil. Okay. And Gavin Hampton chimes in. He's also a level 2 contributor. I hope to be there someday. Those guys love it because it's far more profitable than mechanical aeration and it lacks the mess. Hard to give up and argue when they don't want to give up on all that profit. And gosh darn it, if you didn't bury the lead like that, that's the truth, Gavin. That's why they love it, because they can sell you on why it's great and why it's awesome and everything like that. It's just the same, if not better. Why wouldn't you do it? But yeah, it reduces labor costs significantly. We've talked about the unit economics of using liquid aeration as opposed to mechanical aeration. Who gives a rip what the research says, right? And we'll get to that here in just a minute, because Matt's talked a lot about this in the past. But Carbon Connections comes back and says, hey, have you an idea how soil even works. All right. Do you take soil tests? Have you ever used soil bacteria and humic acid? You know what any of this is? Not trying to rip you. Yeah, you are. But it's not snake oil. And I take offense at this being called that. I've been doing this for over 30 years. So I know what I experience. And you will never prove me and our results wrong. Usually when the old snake oil comment comes along, it's because of ignorance and not experience. Thanks. Well, Matt, I would say that old Carbon Connections here, again, not a hookup site, is really digging his heels in. What would you say if you were on the Facebook and interacting with these folks? What would you have to say back to them?
All right. So I just simultaneously to this, the conversation came up again in a completely different group. This would be in the Turf and Ornamental Pesticide Applicators group. And I want to give a shout out to Jared Eaton, who actually posted this, and as did uh, Derek Troyer as well too. And what I don't know is that I'm not entirely sure if everyone understands what they read when they read this. And I know that whoever suggested this study be performed gave their own analytical analysis of the results of it. However, I think we can go ahead and take a look at it. So I sent J Pink a link here, and we'll go down a little bit early, a little bit further down there to the number of pages, and then the abstract and the contents. And I'm going to start, somewhere right here in the middle. It says treatments were initiated on the 15th of July, 2020, consisted monthly applications of Next Air 8 at a rate, also fertilizer in 1801. With another 1801, another Air 8, and another Air 8, and an RGS, and a single holotine core aerification, and a single holotine core aerification, followed by 2 months of applications of Air 8. And so here we kind of have a summary of what that looked like. At 28 days after initial treatment, only treatments including core aerification reduced soil compaction. All other treatments increased soil compaction. So I'm going to repeat that. Only treatments including core aerification reduced compaction. All other treatments increased soil compaction. Okay, so if you attempted just liquid aeration, it was increasing soil compaction compared to the non-treated check. All treatments exhibited slightly lower surface hardness compared to the non-treated check, except for Next Air 8 applied alone. This may be associated with small increases in root mass exhibited by those same treatments compared to the non-treated check. So you saw a slightly lower surface hardness, except for Air 8. And it could be associated with an increase in root mass exhibited by the same treatments compared to the non-treatment check. Water infiltration rate increased 28 days after initial treatment in response to all treatments except fertilizer applied alone. And then the last line here is liquid aeration is not a replacement for mechanical aeration events. So the point being here is that there was no reduction in compaction at all. Now, if you want to make the argument that you do not need to mechanically aerate in order to overseed, I will 100% agree. You do not need to aerate to germinate grass seed. But if you think that there is data out there or anything of the sort that you can point to and say that I am alleviating soil compaction to the same degree or a lesser degree or some sort of statistically significant measurable degree using a liquid aeration product versus a mechanical aeration product, share the data. I can't find it. We have this example here that was read to us that was pitched as like, hey, we got the smoking gun. We got it, nailed it. And it says exactly the opposite here. So my answer to old Carbon Connections here is you, sir, may eat all of my balls, as a matter of fact. And if you ever want to come on the show and have a discussion about it, by all means, even if you want to talk about the soil food web or carbon in the soil, I promise you it's something that we have no problem talking about. It's something that we've all spent money doing before, that we have an intimate experience with, and have no issues whatsoever talking about. In as technical as you want to get related to carbon, whether it's fixed carbon, organic carbon, surface area, porosity, mesoporosity, zeta potential, buddy, I'll go wherever you want to go.
Time's up. It's over.
It does not matter to me. So
30 years.
Carbon Connections, I know you're 28 years old. I'm 10 years older than you. Demay is even older than me, and Ray is significantly older than us. And so I promise, whatever you think you've unpacked, when I was your age, I thought the exact same thing. And we hate to be your red pill in this moment, but sometimes it's necessary to basically to shake the shit out of your wallet so you stop setting it on fire. Cling to it a little bit more aggressively, and I think you'll be more excited long term with the results you end up getting. So thanks, Carbon Connections, for making yourself look like an absolute fucking jackass on the Facebook face crack today. You did no one any good service whatsoever, and we are all dumber for having read what you wrote. Good deal. Check out this week's Burns. That was a perfect segue to the Burns.
All right, who's never used. I was going to say, the only person I do want to say that has effectively, and I think empirically used both liquid and mechanical aeration well past 2 inches to great results is definitely Sheila. There's no doubt about it.
You better believe it.
There's been all sorts of products and implements and things like that have rearranged the guts of that soil, and God bless them for doing it. She needed it.
Yeah, I think she's a big fan of the solid tine.
Have you? I was going to say, have you? We need to ask Carbon Connections. Have you ever done a liquid aeration product or application, and then not shit right for a week?
Don't drink from the garden hose that's been sitting outside for 4.5 years, unless you want the brain worms.
Or don't get it pushed in.
Don't get your brain worms pushed in. Okay. The EPA. Okay, so we were talking about glyphosate earlier. Now we're going to talk about the EPA, and the EPA. To me, in my opinion, this is the government in its most wonderful, highly valuable form right here. They have finalized its first of its kind strategy to protect 900 endangered species from herbicides. And it reflects extensive input from growers and other pesticide users here, right? And so it goes into all the different things that it's implementing. We got a whole ass strategy here. And then, JP, we're going to go ahead and throw up the PDF that they provided us. That is just a real reckoning here. So what we have is, a beautiful document here, a great table of contents. Let's take a look at this table of contents here. So we're going to have runoff and erosion mitigations, runoff and erosion scenarios, spray drift scenarios, ecological spray drift scenarios, both runoff, erosion, and ecological spray drift mitigation scenarios, and then some appendices. So I'll tell you what we're going to go ahead and do. We'll take this to page 13, JP. We'll just scroll down here and take a look at this, because this, being from the EPA, and their primary concern is providing us the first of its kind action plan for preserving 900 endangered species, then this should be some highly actionable content here that we read. So we're going to go through. We'll start at 3.2 right there, jumping. Why not? Because grower and applicators may need to employ runoff erosion mitigations prior to application of a pesticide product or the labeling requires it. EPA provides a handful of scenarios to show how the labeling requirement could be met. We have field crops, non-irrigated corn, soybeans on flat land, non-sandy soil in Indiana. This scenario is for application of any pesticide on corn and soybean grown in Clinton County, Indiana, on flat fields. The soils are non-sandy as the field is flat. Many of the runoff erosion mitigations like terraces, contour farming, and grass waterways are not applicable to this production system. However, as less runoff is expected in flat fields, the less than 3% slope characteristics is assigned 2 points. 2 examples are provided. One field that has tile drainage without a controlled outlet, and one field using reduced tillage. The geographic location is assigned 2 points of mitigation relief, having moderate pesticide runoff vulnerability here. So let's take a look at this. We've got a number of points. We have, whether it be reduced tillage or conventional tillage and tile drainage, and then we have a field location, characteristics, and mitigation measure. And we are assigning points there for each category. That'd be pesticide runoff vulnerability, a flat field, irrigation water management, non-irrigated, systems that capture runoff, tile drainage. Total points for field location, semi or permanent characteristics, reduced tillage management, and cover crop. Okay. I have no idea what the fuck the EPA is trying to tell me with this. Zero fucking clue. I can't tell you how much money and time and people that they employed to put this together. And I'm sorry, if you open this and your first thought is that, well, I'm never going to fucking open that again, then why not turn this into something that is actually actionable? I'm sorry. The user experience of this document is so fucking poor that this is the government personified in a fucking EPA document.
This is deliberate, Matt. This is deliberate. And you know what this is? We are going to drive agricultural production.
Goose your microphone volume.
Okay, Matt, we're going to drive ag production out of the United States and send it to parts of the world where there is no EPA. There is no Endangered Species Act. That is the end point, or exactly what's going to happen. I mean, this is the end point of this, because you see, I don't know what people are thinking when they do this kind of stuff, because, by the way, Matt, I have personal experience with what happened when an overzealous regulatory agency proceeded to systematically drive.
You gotta turn the volume down now. It just went from 0 to 1,000 real fast.
So sorry, but okay.
You're good.
Better. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So Matt, here's what happens when an overzealous regulatory agency that is not looking at the big picture takes effect. Is, everybody keeps on asking you, Ray, pineapple in Hawaii. And I tell them, you know what? Pineapple in Hawaii went aloha. Sugarcane went aloha too. And guess where they grow most of the pineapple now? Much to the detriment of the local populace. Guess where they grow it now? Brazil. There's no rules. So wildlife, too bad. Worker protection, my how unfortunate. And this is what's going to happen when all of this is fully enforced and implemented. Agriculture in the United States is going to go away to places where they don't care about endangered species. They don't care about worker protections. They don't care about the environment at all. And you know who's going to be... No, but you know who's going to be leading and administering and managing these areas that in these foreign countries? Do you know who's going to be doing most of that management? China. China is going to move in and run farms and agricultural production areas in these foreign countries. No rules, no regulations, no cares, and this is what's going to happen. And this is why, Matt, one of my big fantasies is to...
There it is. The government got him.
This big fantasy, and then they...
I
They
knew.
space laser some brain worms into him. Damn it.
Yeah. It was just a matter of time before that got injected. Anyway, so okay. Talk to me civilly here, Ryan. What is it trying to ask us to do here? Like, are we trying to reach these scores? How do we reach these scores? How are these protecting the endangered species? What exactly is it asking us to do? I can't figure that out.
Well, I don't know. The method to the madness, I don't know. So again, this is all set in motion by a court decision that basically said that EPA has not been following the Endangered Species Act for a number of years, right? And that there's no measurable way there, right, that they can possibly regulate pesticides to protect endangered species. So now, as they go through and they review either new products or existing products, they have to have some type of framework and leave it to a government agency to come up with something this important in a pressure pack situation and to deliver it with poise and accuracy. And I think we missed the mark there. So how it all gets implemented, I think nobody has probably thought too much on that about how they're going to take this and then into different parts of the country, right? Into different regions that are growing different crops and things like that, where certain pesticides might be used more prevalently than others, and where they matter more. But I wish I had some more voice of reason on this, but I feel like this is a solution to a problem that they didn't think that they were going to have, and now they do. And so the only question I would have at this point is, how seriously do they take it? Do they go all the way and say, hey, court said we have to do this, so we're going to not only implement something like this, but we're going to enforce it and enforce it with, without malice, but also without care or concern or empathy for the situation that, people that are using these products would be in. That's one way of looking at it. The other way is that, it's going to continue to go the way it's gone for a number of years, and that, I don't know, maybe things don't change much, but if you've heard us talk about what's going on in Europe, and if you see the writing on the wall here, I think it's a balance, right? It's a balance of what Ray's talking about, where a lot of the bad stuff just goes away because it just goes somewhere else, right? It doesn't go away from our shelves or whatnot. It just comes from a different place. And for us in this industry here, uh, I think we're the low hanging fruit. I think it's going to be easy to look at some of these things and get some wins on products as they become reevaluated, right? And regardless of our impact on endangered species or not, right, the products that we use, the active ingredients that we use are definitely on the chopping block. So I wish I had something more rosy and sunshine and puppy doggy to tell you, Matt, but I don't have a good feeling about this.
Yeah, they make these broad suggestions of banded applications and then throw some formulas in there, and it's like when I looked at that document, there's nothing about that looks actionable to me. I don't understand the point scoring system, how that correlates with, okay, I start making all these changes to hit 10 points, and those are 10 mitigation points, and that's where we need to be. What's the threshold? What's the cutoff? And it's not obvious. If this was designed to be actionable, that would be obvious right from the get-go. But when you have to get down to the appendices to see what even kind of suggestions they're making, you've lost everyone. No one's going to wait till page 75 to figure out what the document even means when there's only 80 pages. And it's what's even worse is that it's after all the sources that are cited. How many people are going to keep going after the sources are cited? I do not know who they wrote this document for. It is not for a farmer. It's not for a pesticide applicator. This is for other people in a nerd out space. This is an academic paper for other academics. And at some point, it has to be translated down to the farm level or the pesticide applicator level. And this is not it. In my opinion, this is a huge miss. It's a giant waste of time. It's a giant waste of money. And the only thing it does is that it kicks the can a little bit further down the road until the fit actually does start to sink up on our shores. And then, something something's expected to be done, and then they're looking for low-hanging fruit. And exactly like you're saying, we are low-hanging fruit in that regard, and that's where it gets nerve-wracking on how it all shakes out. The last one here is that a Walmart apple juice has a huge recall undergoing for in 25 states due to arsenic levels. The arsenic levels were 13.2 parts per billion. The FDA guidance as of last year is 10 parts per billion. And so we've exceeded that. And so this is a voluntary recall. They were saying that still at 13 parts per billion, are you likely to suffer acute effects? No. However, there's a reason why we don't want arsenic in our food. There's nothing good about arsenic. It is a known carcinogen, for sure. Arsenic causes issues. So while we can look and say, well, glyphosate is what's causing the problem, in reality, when you have arsenic levels that are high in your apple juice that are targeting 12 and unders, that could be a problem, right? And so while we're all up in arms over glyphosate, in reality, here we've got how many people are going to end up consuming monumental amounts of this apple juice? I don't know. Are we really focusing on the right things here? That's all I'm asking. And I think everyone should ask themselves that too. Are we really focusing on the right things? Let's go ahead and check out this week's returns. Ray's back. The government let him out. Maybe not.
Yeah, I don't see him.
Yeah. We are back. Ray is not back. The government nixed him, and I can tell you in our private chat right now, based on what Ray said, he is not happy about it. That is for sure. But in this week's, I cannot read what Ray wrote in our private chat on the air. That is for sure.
That's true.
A pizza driver delivers a pizza and then comes back with his lawnmower and cuts an elderly customer's house's tall
Let's
grass.
fucking go.
Dude, man, you're not kidding to me. This is a feel good, and of all things to bring up here, this is an Ohio boy, and from Barberton, Ohio.
Barberton. Yeah.
I have no idea where that is. Where is this?
Up by Akron, northeast part of the state, right in arsenic country.
Right in arsenic country. What a man this guy is. Just flat out, this is a man who did not just a good deed, he did a great thing. And imagine if the world was full of more people like this. I'm not saying that you have to go scour your neighborhood and hunt for good deeds to do, but you know what? This guy, he felt compelled enough to get out there and do it, and he did it. And man, I hope nothing but great things are bestowed upon this guy.
And if you're gonna do something like that, Matt, you have the foresight to be like Alan Hayne, the lawn care nut, and have a full camera crew there ready to capture the moment, impromptu, and then publish it on your YouTube channel so everybody knows what a great person you are.
You caught me off guard with that. I didn't. I know that's where you were gonna go.
I gotta play foil here. I'm the asshole. I've gotta just zapow, boom. Sometimes that needle is really, really small. Other time it's like a 93 Ford F-250 key right into your ribs at the bar.
Holy shit. All right, our next one here, boy, we got an 11-year-old who's turning his lawn mowing passion into reality. Kid, look, I'm gonna tell you right now, find a new career. I'm just kidding. It's terrible. I should not have said that. JP, can we just throw this up for a little bit here? Oh, there it is. He's got it going on. CBS Good Morning. An 11-year-old boy channels love of cutting grass into his own business. Let's watch a little bit.
Quentin Hines Jr. at his family's home in Charlotte, North Carolina.
So you're 11 years old.
Yes.
And you got a professional lawn care business.
Yes.
When did you start cutting yards?
I started cutting yards probably when I was about 8 years old, but with my dad it was probably around ever since I could walk.
Really?
Yeah.
He went from observer to operator pretty quick. He started mowing his neighbors' lawns for free. That was when he was 8.
How much do you love to cut grass?
I really, really love it. I really love it.
What do you love about it?
like, I really enjoy it. It would make me feel very, like, soothed.
Man, I used to love cutting grass when I was a kid, but I had to stop because of my allergies.
Yeah, I have allergies, actually, but I take, like, a little...
Wait a minute! You just beat me!
Oh, I did.
See, this is why we can't play during an interview. I just lost! This is unbelievable. 2 years ago, Quentin turned his passion into QJ's...
Look, and I think there's 1,000,001 different ways that people can fall in love with cutting grass, right? It's the immediate input-output effect, right? You get to see the fruit of your labor instantaneously and feel good about the work that you put in. And I think the other thing, especially for a kid this age, right, is think about it. As an 11-year-old, you get to work around power equipment, big ass, powerful, small engines, right? And loud noises, high velocity air out of those blowers. I mean, it is like, this is a kid's dream come true, is to work with all this equipment and get started at a young age, become intimate with it, learn how to fix it, how to repair it, how to make it work the way you want it to work. And I genuinely don't think there's a better intro into that shit other than mowing lawns, right? And I highly encourage anybody out there that does have kids, like, get your kid behind a mower and let them check it out, let them play around with it, and let them fall in love with engines, because it's one of those skills you carry with you for the rest of your life, right? Like, for example, if you can hear something run and you immediately know it's an air fuel issue, and then you know how to take apart a carburetor and tweak it and clean it and all that fun jazz, you can pretty much get anything running. And, maybe their first car they get is a carbureted, whatever Ford Ranger. And then all of a sudden they know how to keep that sumbitch running. And that way, when they've got Becky out on a date at 16 years old and it breaks down, he can act like he doesn't know how it's broke down and, play around a little bit, and then, oh shit, here, I got just 1 second here. Put your finger over that carburetor real quick. I'll get this started. And it goes, all right, I'll get you home just before daddy whoops my ass and your ass too. Just saying, there's some value in that. It's just gonna be, oh my God, he can fix a car. What a unbelievable guy this is. And he gets to wear a smile home, and he gets 2, maybe 3, possibly 4 wins on his belt that night. So in my opinion, this is a skill that carries with you for the remainder of your life. And I could not be any more proud of that kid for getting to do the damn thing, to turn it into a business, and to learn the economic aspect of it too, especially at such a young age, because how many people enter pre-adulthood as a teenager, and then adulthood in your 20s. Well, nowadays probably our 30s. I was probably 30 before I entered adulthood. And not understand the economics of it, right? And so anyway, shout out to this kid. Good for you, buddy. You really make North Carolina look good. I'm proud of you. Okay, that's going to wrap this up. We're going to go hang out with our patrons and let them choose the title of this week's episode. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll catch y'all on a wet and wild Wednesday, because boy, it is going to be slippery. We've got liquid aeration products that are going to be slinging all over the place. It's going to be so slick in this sumbitch. Sheila's leaving slug trails that we're all going to be just like, I mean, we're going to look like we're on a slip and slide. We'll check you on the flip side. Patreon.com/Burger Talk. But